here today to reassess the legacy of a man the history insists on calling the Greats. The prosecution argues that Alexander's celebrated cosmopolitan identity was not the result of a long-term philosophical vision, but rather a convenient byproduct of a relentless military conquest. His empire extended faster than it could be governed, and cultural interaction followed by not by intention, but by necessity.
Objection. My client, Alexander, did far more than conquer territory. He envisioned a world in which East and West could coexist within a single political and cultural framework. His actions went beyond military pragmatism. Cities such as Pergamon, Alexandria, and Babylon became laboratories of cultural fusion, evidence of a deliberate and transformative vision.
Well, such a bold claim. Well, let us examine whether this so-called vision was genuine or merely an afterthought. The court calls its first witness. I now call Diodorus Siculus and Quintus Curtius Rufus to the stand. Their accounts emphasize the brutality of Alexander's campaigns, massacres, city destructions, and ruthless suppression of resistance. These sources portray Alexander not as a cultural idealist, but as an ambitious warlord. In this context, cosmopolitanism emerges not as a goal, but as an unintended side effect of violence and domination.
Yet, the prosecution selectively reads its sources. Arian and Plutarch offer a different perspective. Plutarch describes Alexander's early fascination with foreign peoples and philosophies. His adoption of Persian dress, court rituals, and customs suggests more than opportunism. The Susa weddings, where Macedonian officers married Persian women, were unprecedented acts aimed at social integration rather than simple control.
Or perhaps they were symbolic gestures designed to stabilize an empire on the brink of fragmentation.
Even symbolism matters. Arian confirms that Alexander actively incorporated local elites into his administration, preserving regional traditions instead of erasing them. These are conscious decisions, not accidents of conquest.
Well, now let us turn to modern scholarship. Ernest Balian's Alexander the Great and the Unity of Mankind dismantles the myth of Alexander as a humanitarian visionary. According to Balian, the language of unity served to legitimize the absolute rule. Peter Green agrees, arguing that Alexander's cultural policies were pragmatic solutions to governing a vast, unstable empire with a small Macedonian ruling elite.
So, according to you, Alexander's ideals were entirely fabricated?
Well, not exactly according to me, but according to Green, yes. The adoption of Persian customs was not tolerance, it was propaganda. A ruler adapted his image to secure obedience.
But Robin Lane Fox strongly disagrees. He emphasizes the emotional and psychological dimensions of Alexander's rule. Fox argues that Alexander genuinely admired Persian civilization and believed in universal monarchy that transcended ethnic divisions. These beliefs demanded patience, compromise, and cultural openness, qualities incompatible with purely cynical pragmatism.
Well, or perhaps... Fox romanticizes a ruler who was, above all else, obsessed with control.
Theory aside, let us examine the evidence on the ground. Pergamon reflects linguistic hybridity, mixed populations, and blended religious practices. These developments did not disappear after Alexander's death. they deepened. If Alexander had merely conquered and abandoned these regions, how did such a resilient Hellenistic identity take root?
Well, alternatively, these cultural forms may represent local adaptation, strategies of survival rather than complete royalty to Alexander's ideals, empire, and strategies. Cultural synthesis does not automatically prove visionary intent.
But intent matters when shaping outcomes. Alexander created the conditions in which such synthesis could flourish.
Perhaps there is no clear verdict here. As Paul Cartledge reminds us, in the ancient monarchies, the boundary between conquest and his so-called civilizing mission is inherently blurred.
Our research supports his ambiguity. Alexander began as a conqueror, but governing a multicultural empire forced him to develop a political and a cultural vision that went beyond warfare.
Hellenistic identity may have emerged as a byproduct of conquest, yet it was shaped, encouraged, and sustained through Alexander's strategic choices.
Visionary or pragmatism? Maybe he was both.
Case closed.
Thank you for watching.
Result of a long-term I now call Ladders Siculus and Quintus Curtius Rufus to the stand.
Incorporated. Bir dakika. Tamam. Video.
Dın 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 dın. Bana dön dın 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 dın. Sonra
Did not disappear after Alexander's death. They deepened.